We're going to work a little bit more on equivalent fractions. We really got two kind of more steps to go through. In the last step, we created equivalent fractions that were in larger terms. So we actually went from, here I'm showing you 2/4 to 1/2, so we're going to go backwards this time. In the last video, we went from 1/2 to 2/4. We established that these are exactly the same. They're equivalent. They represent the same, and I'm showing it in this model. They represent the same whole and the same part. 1/2 being 1 out of 1, 2, and 2/4 being 1, 2 out of 1, 2, 3, 4. So we show that that 1/2 is the exact same as the 2/4. Dimensionally, they don't change. Now we're going to go the other direction with it. We've already established then that they're the same, even going the other direction. So I'm not going to make you model this. I'm just going to have you practice it. You can save your applause till the end. I know you don't like to, probably modeling is a pain, but the reason we use modeling is we want to create a visual representation in your mind. Your visual memory is much stronger than any other form of memory. So we want to create a visual picture of what's happening to help you remember far down the road how to do these problems, so that you don't have to relearn every time one comes up. So, believe me or not, that's the reason. So I'm going to skip to the algorithm for this one, the process. Now, when you need to do this, it's often the teacher's telling you got to reduce the fraction. You got to show a fraction like this in lowest terms. So we reduce it. Notice this has bigger numbers. They're equivalent. We know that. But this one is lower terms, or simplest form, sometimes they'll call it, because the numbers are smaller. And it's to your advantage to have smaller numbers when you continue to work with that fraction, because often in math, finding is not the end. Now you're going to use it for something, especially in the sciences. Once you find a number, you're going to use it for something, so you want it in its simplest form. So this is what we're doing here. Let me show you the formula or the algorithm for doing this. When we found the equivalent fraction by increasing, we multiplied, so we went from smaller terms to larger terms. So it stands to reason we're going to divide when we're going from larger terms to smaller terms. And we want a fraction, we want to turn this 2/4 into a fraction with the denominator of 2. And the denominator always will determine a lot of times what we're doing. Not always, you'll see examples where it doesn't, but in this case we'll be looking denominator for this lesson. So I asked myself, before we asked what do I multiply 4 by to get 2? Well, in this case we're going to be dividing, so what do I divide 4 by to get 2? 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I have to do 2 on top and bottom, because we have to remember have that fraction of 1. That's what assures we're not changing the fraction. It's still an equivalent fraction, represents the same amount of space, the same whole and the same part. Really important. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and we get our 1/2. So that's it. That's all you have to do. So in this lesson we're going to have you do some more complex ones. Let's do 4/6. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you the denominator that you have to reduce to, because I need a denominator of 3, and you'll see the value of this when you add and subtract fractions possibly. So denominator of 3, so what do I divide 4 and 6 by? What do I divide 6 by to get 3? And the answer is 2. 6 divided by 2 is 3. You should know that from your multiplication facts, or look it up on the multiplication table. If you don't remember, it's okay. If you don't remember, you can look it up. Now I need that equivalence of 1, so it's got to be, both of those have to be the same number. So I'm ultimately dividing by 1. So 4 divided by 2 is 2. So the equivalent fraction equivalent to 4/6 is 2/3. Let's do one more complex one. Let's do 15/25. And I'm going to give this to you. I want that reduced to a denominator of 5. So what do I divide top and bottom by to get that? 25 divided by what is 5? That's from your facts. So either you know them or you look them up on a multiplication table. We have to have that fraction equivalence of 1. So 5/5. Divide the top by the same thing. 15 divided by 5 is 3. So our equivalent fractions are 15/25 and 3/5. And that's how it's done. So if you practice problems like this, In the next video, we're going to turn it up just a smidge, make it a little more difficult.